Thank you, ma'am. For today's homework, it's going to be the Christmas tree. You're gonna do number 5 and 6. I will do number 5 with you. You'll be doing number 6. You still owe me from yesterday 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm gonna record this video again from yesterday because it did not work yesterday. I don't know what happened. So I'm gonna do with you right now 5 and 6, and I'm going to do again 8, 10, and 12 for you, especially if you're absent, because you're gonna benefit. Okay, so I'm gonna start with number 5 today. For homework, you're gonna do number 6. Okay? So number 5 says, which of the following represents the greatest rate? Which one represents the greatest rate? So on the top, wherever you're at, put number 5 on this pen. And number 5 wants the greatest rate. They want to know who's the greatest rate. Okay? Now, do we have any facts in the story? Do we have facts in the story? No, so I'm gonna have to use the choices. Okay? So since they wanted the greatest rate, I'm gonna start with choice A, 0.5 in 10 minutes. So I'm gonna do a proportion because of the word rate. But before I set up anything, what words should I use? What's my words that I'm gonna use for this one? What words do I use? Look at the choice. What's the words that I'm gonna use? Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, ma'am. Miles and what? Miles and minutes. So my ratio is miles to minutes. Miles to minutes. Since they want to find out what's the greatest rate, I'm going to start with choice A. So I'm going to call this guy, the first one is choice A, and it says 0.5 and 10 minutes. So 0.5 would go on the top because that's the miles, and the 10 would go on the bottom because that's the minutes. And this is choice A. Questions so far? But since they want to find the greatest rate, I need to compare the other choices. So now I'm going to go get choice, guess what? B. And I'm going to put them here. So I'm comparing choice A against choice B so I can know who's the greatest rate. So I'm going to go get now choice B. Zoom big for me so I can help me out with that on number 5 and 6. And choice 5 and 6. And choice B says 6 miles in 60 minutes, right? Yeah. So where would I put the 6 miles? Top or bottom? Top. And the 60 minutes? Bottom. So this time there's no algebra. They give me all the numbers, so I'm using all the choices. Now I'm gonna do cross products. From the bottom to the top, guys. 10 times 6. 60. Ponga de arriba 60. From the bottom to the top. 60 times 0.5. Well, I have to go to the side because that's a decimal. 60 times 5. Remember that when you're multiplying decimals, you take away the decimal. 5 times 0, 0. 5 times 6, 30. But now we need to put the decimal back. How many were in the decimal side here? 1. So I'm going to move it 1 only. So really it's how many? 30. Now check this out. Who has the greatest one? B or A? Guys, what's on top of B? 60. What's on top of A? 30. Who has the greatest rate? B. So who's winning? B. So right now B is winning, so I'm going to put a check. But now I need to get B against who? Huh? C. Why would you want to get B against A? We already did that one. A is gone. A is not the answer. Let's go now B against C. So I'm going to write 6 to 60. Write the words. The 6 was who? Miles to minutes. That's my ratio. Miles to minutes. And this is choice what, guys? B. That's right here. Choice B. And I'm going to compare against choice who? C. So I can know who has the greatest rate. So I'm going to go back to my choices and say, choice C says 27 miles in 300 minutes. 27 miles in 300 minutes. Now, this is not the only way to do it. We could have done a unit rate per one and figure out that way, but I think this is the easiest way to do it. So it was 27 would move on top or bottom? Top is miles, and 300 would be on the bottom. To know who has the greatest rate, I'm going to do cross products. So I'm going to start with the 300 times 6. From the bottom to the top, what's 300 times 6? 1,800. I did that one mentally. But you can go to the side and do it if you don't believe me. Now 60 times 27. Now that one I'm going to go to the side. 60 times 27, I'm going to the side. 7 times 0? 7 times 6? 42. Good job. Cross it out and put a 0. 2 times 0? 2 times 6? 12. 1,620. 1,620. Who wins? B wins again. So right now B looks like the good choice. That's the one that has the greatest rate. So who do I use again? B, because he's winning. Why would you use C? He's out. C is not the greatest rate. Ya le ganó B. So I'm gonna go again with B. This one takes long, guys, so we have to, because it says which of the following, so I have to use all the choices in model. So it does take time. This is miles to minutes. And now I'm gonna go against what choice? D. So choice D says 3 miles in 24 minutes. So where do I put the 3? Top, and the minutes? Bottom. And I do the same process, cross products, cross multiply. 60 times 3, 180. 24 times 6, I have to go to the side. 24 times 6. That would be 24. 12 plus 2, 144. 144. This one was choice B, and this one was choice what? D. Who wins now? Now, do I have to compare D now against C and A? No, because if B has been beating everybody and D beats B, well, D should take care of what? The rest. So my greatest rate of all of them is choice what? Huh? D. Because he beat the champ. The champ. Look, round 1, B won. Round 2, B won. Round 3, se le acabó el guato B. Ganó D. Now, because D beat B, we know that D would have beat who? C, and would have beat who? A. Now, if they wanted the least rate, then A would have won at the beginning, and then we compare them until you find the winner. The winner continues to the rounds. Like B, round 1, le siguió para round 2. Round 2, le siguió para round 3. Ahí se le acabó el guato because D le ganó. Now, because D beat B, we don't have to check the rest. Ya ganó D. Questions with number 5. The way I did number 5, you're going to go home tonight and do number 6. Number 6 says, which of the following represents the greatest rate of points per game? So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go points to what? Who's going to be on the top? Who's going to be on the top? Points. On the bottom? Games. I'm going to compare F against G. Cross multiply from the bottom to the top and check who wins. The winner continues to the next round and so on. That's the easiest way that I can think of teaching when they want the greatest rate. Okay? Questions? Okay. Now I'm going to re-record this, number 8 and all that. So if you want to, you can work on number 5 by yourself. So you don't have homework. I mean, number 6 by yourself already. Or if you're confused with the ones from yesterday, si estás confundido con los de ayer, porque había muchos niños aquí, um, then you can watch me do it again. So I'm going to do again question 8, 9, I mean not 8, 8, 10, and 12 again in case you're confused. Okay? Park rangers tagged 80 deer in the park. They found that 24 of the deer were less than 2 years old. Based on these results, how many of the 1,200 deer in the park can be expected to be less than 2 years old? So we always begin with a question. The question is, this is from yesterday, but the recording, I don't know, it never loaded. You want to know how many deer. You don't have to do this again. I'm just showing you. If you want to listen again because you're confused, I will listen again. How many deer are less than 2 years? Because I recorded in third period, but it didn't work out good. How many deer are less than 2 years? What's her? That's a question. Then we're going to get the facts. The facts is get the information that you need. So I need to know that there's 80 deer in the park. 80 deer in park. If there's 80 deer in the park, that would be the total. Because they're telling you, hay 80 venaditos en el campo. So ese es el total de venados. Then, 24 of them were less than 2 years old. Oh, so 24 of them, 24 deer are less than 2 years. Hay que leer. With these problems, guys, problem stories, you have to read and graph the stuff. You can't just put 80. You have to put details. 80 deer in the park, that makes the total. 80 deer are less than 2 years old. That's not the total, that's part of the total. And let me continue reading. 1,200 total deer. Oh, so this is going to be now, instead of 80, now they're going to change it to 1,200 total deer. Okay? Now, this is a proportion because they're telling you for every 80 deer, 24 of them are babies. They're less than 2 years old. For every 80 deer, 24 are less than 2. So I'm going to do a proportion. And here's where kids again get confused. You need to go read the words. 80 represents the what? What does the 80 represent? Total. 24 represents the what? No, pues todo represent deer, but what does 24 represent? Less than 2 years old. And the 1,200 represents again the total. So what words am I going to use? Total. Obviously, I'm going to use total because that one is there. So I'm going to put total on the bottom. We always want to put total on the bottom. And who would I put on the top then? Who would go on the top then? Less than 2 years old. Less than 2. Va arriba. Now let's start filling it up. Where would you put the 80? On the top or on the bottom? Bottom, because that is the total. 80 is the total. We put total on the bottom. That's why we're going to put 80 on the bottom. Let's go with 24. Where would you put him? On the top, because that's the less than what? 2. So less than 2, 24 or less than 2. Where would I put that 1,200? Top or bottom? Bottom, because that's what again? Total. Total is on the bottom. So 1,200. And what would I put here since they didn't give me another number? X. You see, in problem 5, they gave me all 4 numbers, so that's why we didn't have an X. But this one, they only gave me 3, so I have to solve algebraically now. We still do the same thing. From the bottom to the top, 80 times X. 80X. 1,200 times 24, I have to go to the side. 1,200 times 24. Now, yesterday when I was talking to you, I told you that when you have zeros at the end, cuando hay ceros al final, you can just drop them and say, okay, I'm done with you. And then just multiply whatever's left, 12 times 24, so it can be easier for you. So when you have zeros at the end, you just count them, drop them, and then the rest you can multiply on the side. What's 4 times 2? 8. 4 times 1? 4. You see, it's much easier to multiply 2 by 2. Get rid of the 4 now because we're done and put a 0. Now what's 2 times 2? And 2 times 1? 2. So you see that 288? Now we can put them back where it belongs, 288. So right now we have 28,800. 1200 times 24 is 28,800. Now we're going to solve for who? For x, right? We need to find x. How do I solve algebraically? What's the strategy that we use to solve algebraically? Sat m. This in math, a number next to a letter means multiply. A number next to a letter means multiply. So to solve for x, we're going to do the inverse of multiply, which is what? Divide by 80. What you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. Now these two 80s, they cancel out. They're gone. This I'm going to have to bottom out. Now yesterday I also told you a little trick about when you have zeros at the end and you're dividing. We can cancel 1 for 1 in this case because there's 1 for 1. If there was two zeros, then we can cancel 2 for 2. But there was only 1 on the bottom, so I can only cancel 1 for 1. Si hubieran dos ceros, podía cancelar 2 por 2. Why do I want to cancel zeros when we're dividing? To make the division easier again. So we're going to do 2,880 divided by, instead of 80, divided by what? 8. Now the other problem that I'm seeing when you guys are dividing, you're not putting your decimal. Once you have your division, put the decimal at the end. If there's no decimal, we need to put the decimal at the end. If there's no decimal, we put the decimal at the end. Then we can start dividing, and we go one digit at a time. 2, would that be enough for 8? No, it won't. 28, would that be enough for 8? Yes. Times what? You go to your times tables. 8 times 3 would be 24. Now we're done with that place. Now this guy is next. The next 8 is next. 48, would that be enough for 8? Yes. 8 times what? 6. That would be 48. Now some kids will stop there, but that's wrong because you still need a what here that you haven't worked with? 0. Guys, if there's 4 digits, you better have 4 digits on the top. If you're doing it my way, which is 1 digit at a time, 1 digit at a time. Bring down the 0. 0, is that enough for 8? Is 0 enough for 8? No, so what do I put here? 0. So how many deers will be less than 2 years old? 360. That's the way you do number 7 at homework. Number 7, yours is going to be about total cell phones, and defective cell phones. So your ratio is defective to total. Now let me do number 10 for you. Here we go. Number 10 says, during a rainstorm, 2 inches of rain fell in 5 hours. At the rate, how many hours would it take for 20 inches of rain to fall? Okay. That means that somebody's out. Scroll up so I can see what's the next one. Oh, scroll down, sorry. The one with rain. That one. Okay, so this one wants to know how many what? Hours. And they mentioned the word rate in the question. Now the facts. The fact is that it rains 2 inches of rain in 5 hours. So 2 inches in 5 hours. That's a number 5, not an S. This word in also tells me that this is a ratio. So here's what this ratio says. For every 5 hours, I'm going to rain 2 inches. 5 hours, 2 inches. 5 hours, 2 inches. 5 hours, 2 inches. That's what's a rate about. Okay. Now they also mentioned that they want to know what's going to happen in 20 inches. How long will it take 20 inches? Since we're working with rates, with ratios in, and the word rate is there, I'm going to do my strategy of proportion. Now, before we start putting numbers, we need to find the words, the ratios. So I'm going to go look for the words. I see the word what? Inches, and I see the word what? Hours. So I'm going to put inches on top and what on the bottom? Hours. Now we can start filling up the numbers. What's the 2 in this story? Inches. And where would you put them? Top or bottom? Top. What's the 5 in this story? So where would you put them? Top or bottom? Bottom. What's the 20 in this story? So top or bottom? And do we know the hours of 20 inches? Y ya empezamos el proceso. 2 times x, 2x. 5 times 20, 100. How do I solve for x? Set m. What does this mean in math? A number next to a letter? Multiply. So to solve for x, I'm going to do the inverse, which is to divide by 2, divide by 2. What happens to the 2's? They cancel out, so we have the x. 100 divided by 2 would be 50. So how many how many hours would it take to get 20 inches? 50 hours. So now I'm going to go to the same thing. The way I did number 10, you're going to go home and do number 9. Yours is about plants and what? Fish. That's your words. Plants to fish. Number 12, the last one. And I'm doing this again because the video from yesterday, I recorded twice. And twice the videos got messed up. And I'll show you right now because I played them and they don't play all the way through it. I even got a message from the company saying, you know what? Your 2 videos from yesterday did not work out. We're trying to fix them, but they still can't fix them. So I said, I'll just do it again. Which in a way was lucky because that means that I don't get to grade it yet. So you have another day to go home and do from questions 5 all the way through 12. Okay? They better be done in your journal. Tomorrow I'm gonna grade it because I'm gonna put the. I already did number 6. Good. So now you just have 5 through 12. 5 through 12, whatever you want me, you do it. Okay? Number 12, the last one. It says 10 liters of water weigh 22 pounds. How many liters of water weigh 110 pounds? So number 12. Let me get another paper instead of messing this. So number 12, I start with my question. My question is, how many liters of water? How many liters of water? That's my question. The facts is that 10 liters weigh 22 pounds. So the facts, 10 liters equal 22 pounds. When we're doing conversions, units of measurement, that's a ratio. For every 10 liters, that's 22 pounds. Another 10 liters, 22 pounds. Another 10 liters, 22 pounds. That's called a rate, a ratio. Okay, so because it's a ratio, I'm going to do a proportion as my strategy. The last one that's there's 110 pounds. So I'm going to set up the proportion, and let's see. What 2 words am I going to use based on the story? ¿Cuáles 2 palabras? Liters to pounds. The ratio is liters to pounds. Where do I put the 10? Top or bottom? Because the word liters is on the top, I put them on the top. Where do I put the 22 pounds? Top or bottom? Bottom. 110, top or bottom? Bottom. And this guy gets the x. And then we start the same thing. 22 times x? 110 times 10? Guys, whenever you have zeros at the end, again, here's what you can do. What's 1 times 11? 11. And then just count the zeros. How many zeros do you see? That's how you can do those. Cuando hay ceros al final, you can just count them. 1, 2. Let me do it over here so you can see what I'm talking about. You see how you have 2 zeros at the end? Just count them. 1, 2, drop them. They're gone. Now multiply the rest. 1 times 1, 1. 1 times 1, 1. There. Now, how do you solve for x? Set m. What's this in math? Multiply. What's the inverse of multiply? Divide. Divide by 22. Divide by 22. What happens to the 22s? They cancel. Divide this on the side, bottom out. Ay, me pasé de uno, pero aquí lo ponemos así. Don't forget to always put a decimal. If there's no decimal, put it at the end. Now we go in order. 1, is that enough? No. 11, is that enough? No. 110, is that enough? Yes. I have to go guess. And you want to guess 5? Yesterday somebody guessed 7 and it was too high, so we just go lower. But it's going to be 5. Perfect. It is 5. Now some of you stop there and choose the answer of 5. And you're wrong, because we still have a space there that we need to put right here. If there's 4 digits inside, there better be 4 digits on the top, guys. That's the best thing to do. Si hay 4 adentro, ahí debe haber 4 arriba. Si estás yéndote como yo te estoy enseñando, una dígito a la vez, place value by place value. So there's still a space there. There's nothing left, so what should I put here? 0. So really the answer is x equals 50. 50 liters will be 110 pounds. 50 liters is the same thing as 110 pounds of water. So now I can go and choose 50 not 5. And this guy was 50 also, right? And to punch in this guy, you just punch in 360.00, or you can just leave it like that with a point, or you can just leave it like that. It doesn't matter. They're going to be counted right. Questions? Now let me stop the video.